Good morning, everyone. I'm Perry Matrano, and normally we have Diana Minotti, my wife, who is not here today, out taking a sick day. And so I am on my own, and I have some great guests here today. But before we get to our guest, I want to let you know that we have a shop here in Palm Coast. It is the Diana Minotti Fine Art Antiques and Collectibles Shop, over 5,000 square feet of wonderful treasures that you can find there. And we'll be working with treasures today. And at this point in time, Mr. Engineer, I am going to do the best I can to be the single point on this. So if you have to flag me down, please do, okay? Anyway, we will miss her today, and we'll do the best we can. But we do have some great guests. So we are located at 15 Palm Harbor Village Way, right here in Palm Coast, Florida, 32137. Our website is dianafineart.com. There you could see all of our items, our estate sales that will be coming up. Also, if you want to find some items of uniqueness, you could go to our eBay store, our regular online store, our Poshmark store. We have endless ways of marketing, and in that shop we have fine art, antiques, and collectibles always, and the best stuff that comes out of our estate sales. We are located in and behind the sheriff's office north of Old Kings Road. All right, so if I can, I'd like to introduce my guest and those who have followed the show a bit. Zach Zacharias, who's been here before. He is the senior curator of the Education Center of History Museum of Arts, MOAS, down in Daytona Beach. And I also have Don. Don is the producer, director of the Fossil Hunters, and they're here to talk about their show, which also airs on well, I guess on social media and others. So, fellas, Zach, why don't we start off with you? Why don't you tell us who you are and what you're all about?
My name is Zach Zacharias. I'm the senior curator of history. I was the senior curator of education history for a long time at the Museum of Arts and Sciences in Daytona Beach. I've been there for 31 years, and I work very extensively with the fossil collection there, mainly the mighty giant ground sloth, which is in the prehistoric Florida Gallery, which is the best specimen of that prehistoric Ice Age mammal in the world. It's the most complete. And it was found in Daytona Beach, about 2.5 miles south of the museum, on a very famous road called Nova Road. And that site now is a park called Reed Canal Park, which is open to the public.
I find that amazing that it was right here, all that time, and they found it. But this goes to show you don't really know what's underneath your feet anywhere, and especially in Florida, because of what we've had here in prehistoric times.
Florida is one of the best places in the world to find fossils. There's lots of Ice Age animals here. You cannot find dinosaurs. It was underwater during the time of dinosaurs, so there are no dinosaurs here. To find your first dinosaur, you need to go to roughly mid to northern Atlanta. But there were plenty of great other animals here, and those were all basically Ice Age animals. Giant ground sloths, mastodons, mammoths, saber-toothed tigers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it was one of my questions. I was going to ask you if we have any dinosaurs. Yeah, thank you for doing that. And we have Don. Don, would you tell us who you are, where you're from, and tell us about your museum?
Hey, how you doing, guys? And a big hello to any fossil hunters that we have out there, right? My name's Don Brunning. I was a teacher for 33 years for Volusia County Schools. I just retired last summer. We've had this show going on PBS for the last 10 years, on and off, give or take. And it's been kind of a local regional thing, Fossil Hunters, the TV show. And we've got that broken down into 24 episodes. So I took those, split them into 3 seasons, put them out on a digital format for the world. And now we are being streamed worldwide on Plex and other streamers. Plex is a free app, so you can download it for free onto your TV, smartphone, whatever, so your smart device, and you can watch us for free. And that's really what's kind of important, is that we would like to get our message out there to other fossil hunters, and we'd like you to see what we're finding, but we don't want you to have to pay money for it, sign on to one of these services. So we're free on Plex right now. We got plenty of other streamers interested in us, but right now we're scheduled on Plex worldwide.
And the museum, Diana told me you guys have a bit of a museum somewhere.
Well, Zach has the Museum of Arts and Sciences,
Yes, of
Moaz,
course.
right?
Right.
And then all I have is a private collection.
Okay.
Now I have donated to the museum in Gainesville. That's probably what she was
Yes, right.
referring
against-
to.
Okay.
So about 95% of my personal collection has been donated up to Gainesville. Gainesville is the Florida Museum of Natural History, and we've worked with a number of their different paleo directors through the years, Dr. Webb and Dr. Hulbert, and now Rachel Narducci is in charge up there. And we, to this day, we still donate. John, one of our cast members, John, who you mentioned earlier, John Sasha donated a very rare echinoid to the Museum of Arts and the Florida Museum of Natural History just a couple of months back, and it's an invertebrate fossil, right? We're talking about vertebrate fossils when we're talking about megafauna mammals and mastodons.
And
and
I
mammals.
got to interrupt you because we've already gone through at least 5 terms that were definitely not on a lot of people's radar. But I'd like to know a little bit more, Zach or Don. But before we do that, you have some other members of your cast. So Zach, you have your wife Allison, right? And then there's Don and your wife April, and John with Linda, and Dave with Trish, right? And those people are your core hunters, right? And how you do this, right? So that's all on your show. 10 years already, you guys have been doing this, right? This is not new, but it's just the word's finally getting out. It took this long. So
We do have a new cast member.
Yeah, we have a new cast member who's part of he's our drone pilot. He's a certified drone pilot.
Cool.
So he's a cast member and actually part of the crew, if you want to say that in the right terms there. He is pretty new to fossiling because we're basically all amateurs, although I do kind of work in the field and get paid to do that as an avocational paleontologist. So his name is John Paul Gelino, and he goes by JP. And so that's a new cast member.
That's a pretty large cast, and that's good to have because you get a lot of great personalities. And I know your daughter was on there too. She's a fossil hunter.
We had junior fossil hunters. Don's sons were on it. My son and my daughter were on it, and Trish's daughter was on it. So they're all adults now.
But the main thing is when I watch them, their passion, when they show it, it's like, these guys know. Like they were shooting off the same terms you guys just did. And let's go to terms. So petrified remains and a fossil, difference. What's the difference between a petrified?
Petrified and fossil are pretty much the same thing. So in order for it to be a fossil, scientists basically claim it has to be at least 10,000 years old. It can be it's the leftover remains of an animal. It can be an animal. It can be a bone. It can be plant material, teeth. It can be fossilized poop, which we have an example of that.
we have a great, just so everyone knows, and everyone knows I loved our segment of show and tell. We have fossilized poop, so stand by on that.
We call that a coprolite. And I will let you know that my wife, April, and I used to have an outreach for kids. The way that we simplify it for an audience is we like to say a fossil is a bone that's turned to stone. Now, roughly speaking, that's true. Every bit of that bone has then been taken and mineralized. So understand the minerals around it have been absorbed into and replaced the original material. And so that it basically turns into a bone, a fossilized, petrified bone.
Wow, amazing.
And that's why when you find a bone, it will usually, if it's fossilized, it will have weight to it. It will feel like a rock. It will feel like a stone. It will feel heavy.
Yeah, we're going to show that in just a few minutes. Paleontology and a paleontologist. So what is the breakdown of that?
So that's a great question. A paleontologist is somebody who studies ancient animals, ancient plants, and the environments in which they live in. That is different from an archaeologist. You'll see people get these two scientists confused. They're both out in the field digging and excavating. An archaeologist is interested in human artifacts, like ancient pottery or the ancient Chinese or the ancient Egyptians. And they're studying basically how cultures changed over time. Paleontologists are studying how animals basically changed over time. So one is animals and then one is humans. That's archaeology. So they get them confused. There's a little bit of overlap because humans lived when mammoths lived in the Ice Age. So sometimes there's some overlap. But it's an amazing science. It's a very vibrant science that encompasses about 26 different sciences all within one. And it's a huge, monstrous field.
So sort of like the show Big Bang, where they cover all of that kind of stuff as well.
It is hardcore science.
I will add this about archaeology.
Sure.
We want to make it absolutely clear to the audience that we do not collect archaeological artifacts. That is against the law. You are not allowed to do that. There is no permit that will cover you for doing that unless you own the land yourself, or you know somebody who owns the private land and you have permission, and you find an artifact, say an arrowhead or a piece of pottery or something. We don't do that. We only look for the animal remains.
So as you know, Diana's not here, but believe me, she's here. I have the list, right? So we have plenty of other questions, but that was one of the questions is, where are fossils found? And of course we have shark teeth and dinosaur fossils and ammonites and trilobites, right? So maybe we can hit on those in a second, but Florida, right? I mean, this is a family thing. This is truly something you can do with your children at pretty much any age once they start really being able to, like 3 or 4 years old. Even 4-year-olds can do it. So obviously this is a great family thing, and Florida is a great place for families. So tell us, in Florida, what can people expect to find and where? And then on the note of what you were saying is what is the regulation regarding the hunting? You touched on it just now, of these fossils. Like where do you have to get a permit? Do you not? Like,
sure. Okay. So because we're so closely connected with museums like MOAS, and MOAS with the Smithsonian, and us with the Museum of the Gainesville Museum, the Florida Museum of Natural History, you have to have a permit to collect vertebrate fossils. So that's anything with a backbone. You do not have to collect. You do not have to have that permit. It's only $5. You have to do it every year. You have to fill out a little form that tells them what you found, and they might want it for their collection. That's why we do that. You do not have to have that permit for shark's teeth. You can collect shark's teeth all day long. And to tell you, family-friendly shark's teeth, you might have heard of Venice before as the shark tooth capital of the world. Mm-hmm. You can go to Venice. You can go just south of Venice to a little beach called Casperson, which got hit pretty hard by the last hurricane. So give them a little bit of time to rework that. They're reworking that road right now. Just south of that is called Minnesota Key. Those 3 places will allow you to just walk along the shore and pick up shark's teeth. Wow. Up north, we have a couple of places on the East Coast.
Ponte Verde Beach, right? That's very close to here, Ponte Verde Beach.
Amelia Island.
Amelia Island is another one up there on near Fernandina and the Fort Clinch area. So that's a place you can find shark's teeth. Now, they're not as numerous as you're going to find in Venice or in some of the rivers. So if you go to like the Peace River, there are some businesses there that will take you out on the Peace River. But it has to be pretty much a certain level. If the river is really high, you don't want to take children. You got to go in the dry season, which is right now. It's about ready to end. The dry season.
Yeah, it is after last night's rain. And Captain Mike Castellino was on our show before. He's a regular treasure hunter, and those areas that you just spoke about on the northern side of Florida has tremendous number. You'll walk along a beach, you might find a gold or silver coin. That's how crazy this whole thing is. But
and treasure hunting is different from archaeology. Archaeology is done in a scientific way. And treasure hunting is just basically going out and finding. So there is a difference on that. So
speaking of weather conditions and so on and so forth, we're also talk about that it can be dangerous. Like, okay, so like this is Florida. Like I was told, you just don't go swimming in a pond ever. And you guys are walking in some of the most, I think, probably really dangerous stuff. So can you share with us quickly on what it is that you've kind of encountered out there?
You take that one, Don. You've done it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm looking at one of your questions. It says, can you mention that it's been dangerous and what experiences? Gator, eel, shark, snake, all 4.
Okay.
All 4 of them. I accidentally pulled the tail of a gator and she turned on me. She was 11 feet. This was in the Wekiva River back in 90. She didn't bite, but she broke 2 of my ribs with her tail.
Oh, my God.
I had eels in the, the Halifax. I was diving in the Halifax looking around for some mammoth teeth, and I've had an eel kind of stalk a certain part of my body we won't go into. I did have a hammerhead come after me and turn once down in West Palm. And then, of course, we got snakes all over the place. So we will deal with moccasins on a daily basis in the river, along with gators in the Peace River. There's a lot of gators. I think the last time we were out 2 weeks ago, we saw 7.
So just remember, folks, if you do decide that you want to go fossil hunting, just be very cautious and know the area and maybe do a little research before you go. And you certainly will be able to maybe get in touch with these guys. We're going to get their information towards the end. We're getting ready to move into our most favorite segment, which is of course show and tell. But before we do that, if you cannot fossil hunt and you want to collect, where can people buy fossils? Like we see stuff on eBay and stuff. Sadly, Diana mentioned this morning when I was talking to her in between sneezing. She said it's really sad that people will buy a Barbie doll or a Disney thing, and pay bazillion dollars more than something that's 10 million years old on eBay. That's like, it's really kind of like, sad to think about, right?
It goes into the whole collection mode, right? We are collectors, and it depends on what it is you like to collect. If you're collecting, Disney figurines, I guess that's what you're concentrating on. We happen to collect dead animals. That's what we do, right?
Very old.
Very dead.
Animals.
Very dead.
So we're going to get into them. Now, you guys, listen, we bring stuff that we have at the shop. And one of the reasons why we have a show like this is to showcase our gallery, as Diana calls it, because it's an art gallery, it's an antique shop. I always call it a shop. She refers it always to as a gallery, and things that we sell. So I have on my portion show and tell, and if you guys want to unwrap something there, so I have an arrowhead in this little bin. Am I okay there, Mark? Okay, so this is I don't know if you guys could tell me more about it than I know, but this is an arrowhead.
Yes, and unfortunately, our expertise is not in archaeology. So
Okay.
one of us, John, Sasha,
Right.
one of our cast members, could probably tell you exactly what kind of an arrowhead that is and what particular indigenous species made that.
And it's going to be old. I just don't know how old it is. All right, and you could grab one of yours if you want. We could share this. And again, this year, what did we talk about? This item was I lost a note, so Diana's going to be mad.
So I do believe that is going to be a carved piece of either tusk, it's some sort of whale tusk, or ivory or bone. It's definitely Asian in origin because it has dragons all over it.
Yeah, if you
See
can
the
see.
dragon motif that goes through it?
Yeah,
And it's actually a ball within a ball,
Ball within a ball.
which they carved that way. They didn't take that other outer piece and glue it back together. They actually carved the ball inside the ball.
What do you got there? Which one?
What you got, Zach?
I have what's called an echinoid, which is basically a sea urchin fossil, and this is pretty common. And this is about 40 million years old. So you would find this in what we would call sedimentary rock. You'll find these in the mines. So we have mines in Florida where they excavate all the phosphate for drywall, whatever it is, road fill, and these are really, really common.
Tell them about Echinoid Island.
Yeah, so there's a whole island over near a place called Yankeetown where we go, and they dredged the area, and gosh, we find buckets and buckets. You can't pick them all up. There's so many bucketfuls of echinoids in all different types of conditions. So you can see kind of the outline of the animal, of the sea urchin on there. It's a really cool piece.
So this is what Diana describes this as is a fossilized whalebone carving. It's a figure of maybe some kind of god or something, and this is in our shop. This is for sale. Everything I have that I'm carrying today will be in our shop. If you want to come and look at it for Mother's Day, you can give your mother one of these.
That is an interesting piece because you can actually see the bone marrow throughout the entire piece. Bone marrow are the vessels that allow the blood to travel to the bone. So see all those little dots in there, all those little holes? You're actually looking at the area that the blood vessels traveled through to give the bone the blood that it needed to grow.
It's amazing. What else you got?
All right. Well, let's start with something that we just got a couple weeks ago. Is this me up here? All right. So this looks like you just be picking up a piece of wood. You've already been able to hold this once.
Yeah.
And you had
Heavy.
a little weight to it, right? That means it's probably fossilized or mineralized at least. And what you're looking at here is actually a pretty decent chunk of ivory from a tusk of a megafauna known as mastodon. A mastodon was like the cousin to the mammoth. Everybody hears about the mammoth and the woolly mammoth. We didn't have woolly mammoths down here. They were up in Siberia and Alaska and all that. We had Columbian mammoths. This is not a mammoth tusk. This is a cousin to them, the mastodon. Looked fairly similar. The tusks were a little straighter, not quite as curved. But you can see that this is the ivory, even though it's not white, right? Because it's been fossilized, mineralized. Those minerals have soaked into and replaced that white color with the tannic color of the river. And then on the very outside, this is enamel. It's called the tusk bark, the outer layer of a tusk. And that's the enamel covering, like your teeth have enamel on the outside of them. Tusk is nothing but one big tooth.
So,
That's right.
So how, I mean, I know you guys have experience, so it's easy for you to spot it. Like I wouldn't be able to tell, right? Because I wouldn't know anything about it. But how do you know that that was a tusk?
You've picked up 10,000 bones.
Okay.
And it really is all about what you've picked up and how many times you've been able to hold to something different to know.
And by going to museums and looking at museum collections will help you identify.
Absolutely.
If you go to any of the fossil festivals, like in Tampa, in Orlando, in Lee County, it's a great place to learn, and you can buy fossils at those fossil fests.
So this is a fossilized rock, would you
Petrified.
say? Petrified.
Petrified wood,
Yeah.
I was thinking?
Yeah, petrified wood. Yeah, I mean, I know this is stuff we have. We sold a huge collection several years ago. Some of these still show up in the shop here and there because they get moved around, but it was like almost 800 of everything, any kind of fossil something. It could be this or items that you guys have. And we have a few of these in the shop here and there. Just, I brought them because they're old. All right. Go ahead. What else do you have?
Petrified wood is one of my favorites, by the way. Oh, we got tons of stuff. Zach, why don't you do giant tortoise?
So this is a giant tortoise. Believe it or not, we had giant tortoises the size of the Galapagos turtles that you see down there, off of South America and the Galapagos Islands. And so they were very common in Florida as well. And these are pretty common. You'll find their parts of their carapace and the bone. And you can see in there, again, a great example, all the little holes, the blood vessels for the bone marrow. And so that's how you tell when you got bone. You can look at it and look for the little holes. There's literally like thousands of them. That's how you know you got bone. It's got a lot of weight to it. So the carapaces don't survive fossilization very well intact. They break into pieces. So a very common fossil you'll find in the rivers, in the streams, is turtle. Is definitely very common.
Wow.
They're shells, and the shells are hard. Hard parts fossilize very easily, like teeth. If you touch a tooth, you feel how hard teeth are. They fossilize very easily. Like your kneecap, of course, a carapace like this would. Skin, not so much. Very rare. Hair, rarely ever. Fingernails, they don't fossilize. So we have stuff up here, and they're wrapped in plastic to keep them safe.
I'm going to try to get you guys to keep showing your stuff. It's more interesting than my stuff, but
all right,
I don't want to run out of time. So
you brought up dugongs earlier.
Dugong, yeah, this crazy term I saw that Zach's daughter mentioned, and I didn't know what a dugong was.
So this is a dugong rib, and if you notice, it looks like it's pretty beat up and it was broken. That's because dugong breaks in sections. Its ribs are solid, first of all, because the animal is full of blubber like our manatees. They're related to our manatees. So our manatees have the pancake tail, the flat, round tail. Dugongs have like a fish-like tail. Dugongs live in the Indian and the Pacific Oceans. Manatees are over here in Florida that you can see in the springs all the time, sometimes out in the oceans and things.
So they currently are alive, that species in the
but extinct here, yes.
This is an extinct species of dugong, but we do have dugong that are still alive. They're called extinct or extant if they're still alive.
Very interesting.
So this guy breaks into pieces, right? And I just glued the pieces back together. We will normally find them like this. Chunks like this. And by the way, this is your chunk. We're giving it to you.
My God.
You were asking about dugong, so you get a dugong rib.
All right, I will definitely bring my dugong home. We only got 2 minutes left, so why don't you at least show us a few more of yours? My stuff is not that important right now. It's just stones and rocks. I could show them real quick.
And I also want to remind that the show is also on WDSC channel 15 on Saturdays is it at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock on channel 15 WDSC.
Right. If you can't get Plex or you want to watch it on Saturdays, WDSC Channel 15 out of Daytona.
Well, we can't go away without you doing
Thank you for my
All right, what
dugong.
you got in there, Don?
Zach,
We got a lot of fossils in here.
got a lot of fossils. What happened to the...
I'm just showing these rocks while they're peeling their stuff off, and while they're looking for that, I'll just end the get the broadcast information out for you guys. Just go, you keep on showing it, and I'll come back to you in a second.
This is a plate to a mammoth tooth. Now, this tooth would actually be a very big block, about this big. This big. It would be a very big, blocky tooth, and it would look something like this. Now, this is kind of a baby one, but you can see how the plates are all glued or cemented together, and the tooth would have worked. The tooth would have worked going back and forth like this in the elephant's mouth. This is mammoth tooth. This is a mammoth tooth. This is a bigger one, and what happens is they break off a lot of times like that in plates. So, and the enamel is on top. So this is the grinding surface up here. The roots would be down here. And elephants only have 4 teeth in their mouth at any one time. So it would have one here, one up here, one on the other side, one on the other side as well. And that's it. And they would have 6 sets of 4 teeth throughout their entire life. So about 24 if they live to old age. And then when the teeth erupt, they don't come up like this out of the jaw. They come from the back like a conveyor belt. So this is kind of this is a baby one, but normally you can find with something just huge Colombian mammoth teeth here in Florida. Not woolly, but Colombian mammoth teeth.
Like this big tooth here.
That's a superstar right there.
Well, before we get on to telling we'll end with what this is, and you guys keep showing what you have. Just put it up to the camera. People could see it. So as we conclude here,
Vertebrae.
Remember DianaFineArt.com, DianaFine art.com, and you could sign up for our newsletter where you could find about our estate sales when they happen. Remember, we are licensed auctioneers. We are professional estate sellers. Diana is a appraiser for fine art, antiques, and collectibles. Our next estate sale is at 55 Village Circle. That'll be next week, May 16th and 17th. Okay, May 16th and 17th, and I'm not sure about the Monday date. And we're extending the Mother's Day sale at the shop. Go over there and see. I think Anthony's in the shop today, and for the rest of the weekend, I'll be heading up to New York for communion. My grandson's getting his communion done, and there's always new arrivals at the shop. I mean, the shop is chock full of stuff, and the EPC. This is the. Hold on. All right. That one I can't remember what it is. It's the, that's it. The Estate Planning Council. Okay, let me go back, right? This is the Estate Planning Council meeting for Central Florida, which is Flagler County and Volusia County. Diana is the president of that association. Their next meeting is May the 15th, and the speaker is Ann Hardock from Craig Flagler Funeral Home here in the area. For funeral pre-planning. And again, Diana works very close with the PNC Bank. I want to thank my guest, and I appreciate Zach, again, second time in the show. Thank you so much
problem.
for coming.
Thank you for having me back.
And of course, I'm so happy to have Don here. Don, the information that you've provided is invaluable. Did we miss anything?
Just want to end with the granddaddy of all fossils for Florida, the megalodon shark. It's about a 60-foot shark, right? A tooth from a 60-foot shark. These are the sizes you'll normally find in the rivers and maybe offshore in Venice and stuff. If you're awful lucky, you might get a monster like this.
Well, thank you again. One more time, what is the name of your show and where can they find it?
Fossil Hunters, and we are on Plex right now, worldwide. You can find us streaming, and we are also on WDSC TV Channel 15 on Saturdays at 4 p.m. And we like to end our segments by saying, Fossil on.
Thank you, everybody. Again, Diana Minotti, Fine Art. Hey, we're back real quick, and we left something out, and every little kid will love to hear about this one. So what do we got there, Zach?
When I teach fossils at the museum, this is something like this is always very popular. The kids are a little wary of it. And then, of course, if you sniff it, it's a rock. But actually, a long, long time ago, over 10,000 years ago, at least at the minimum, it was fossil poop called a coprolite.
We had to make sure we got this
sometimes
done.
poop, it's a trace. It's called a trace fossil, something that's left over, like a track, a footprint. That's a trace fossil. So is a coprolite.
Very
So,
good. Thank
all
you so
right.
much, Zach. Take
Thank
care.
you. Fossil
Appreciate it.
on.
Bye.